Alrighty, here we go. It is the final Pittsburgh Hockey Now and the National Hockey Now YouTube page live Penguins chat. Hello, I am Dan Kingerski. So, I guess as a season finale, I'm still planning out the cliffhanger at the end to keep you coming back next season because I think we're going to have a radically different conversation beginning in mid September, late September. We're going to have a radically different campaign than we had in 23-24. And by radically different, I suspect the team could not possibly try any less than they did for, I don't know, 5 months last season. They could not possibly be as inconsistent, as maddening, or pick your adjective. There's no way they're going to go in and get just mud stomped 7-0 on Hockey Night in Canada next season. That's just, I can't possibly see that happening. On the flip side, I do not think they have even as much talent as they did last year. So as we hit the final season finale, do me a favor. Wait, it has to be over here. I always get like, subscribe, and you'll be getting all of the live chats next season. Plus, I am going to spend the next 6 weeks doing a lot of Penguins videos. They'll be pre-recorded, like top 5 prospects, top 10 prospects. We'll do some fun stuff as well, and some road trips that you should take. We'll kind of detail those. We're going to have some fun on the YouTube channel by I probably won't be live. Although if you don't follow us, you will never know, right? So I think you are going to drive this show for this final week because I have been writing and writing and writing. But I think you want to just jump to free agents, trade talk, free agents, trade talk, some anti-Mike Sullivan, back to free agents. And I think you really want to know what you're going to see next season. So on Thursday, just about at the crack of noon, I published the first in our series looking at the Penguins prospects. Now, why I think this is very interesting this year, there has never been a time when I've done this job, and even I think going back, wherein there were more than 10 prospects for the list. I could have gone probably 18 deep. The honorable mentions, when I wrap this up, I think are going to be pretty interesting. I put a Russian kid at 15 that I don't think you've heard of, who's in the Penguins system. And I'm not talking about Sergei Murashov. I'm told it's Murashov, not Murashov. Regardless of, maybe he'll correct me if he comes back for training camp. He still hasn't signed. I haven't seen him sign in Russia, and I haven't received an announcement that he's signed with the Penguins organization. They might still be figuring that out, quite frankly, because I don't think he's coming over to go to Wheeling. Yeah, then again, I mean, maybe where he's from in Russia, Wheeling would be like, the Riviera. I don't know. Regardless, that is, I think, what we're going to do for the next few days on Pittsburgh Hockey. Now I'm going to go through those prospects. So let me show you. Here it is. Let me share the screen. Where am I at? There am I at. There I am. Share screen. PHN prospect ranks. Now I knew this would be a little bit controversial, and I'll tell you straight up, I had Sam Poulin somewhere like 9, 10, 11, and as I had him, I think at 9 originally on the first draft of my top 15. And by the way, I'm not going to publish 6 through 10 until Friday, maybe not top 5 until Monday. But then I looked at the players behind Poulin, and I was like, actually, wait, I like them above him. I like this guy. I like that guy. And Poulin just slowly was sliding down. So I'll give you a little peek. And I think it speaks to 2 things. Actually, I suppose 3. The depth of the Penguins pipeline all of a sudden actually has some prospects. 2, Poulin's lack of progression, right? I mean, he's had every opportunity to this point to make it to the NHL. Don't give me that nonsense, "Oh, Mike Sullivan hates young players," or somehow Mike Sullivan is holding players back. Not when Valtteri Puustinen, Jonathan Gruden, Jack St. Ivan, just off the top of my head, these guys were flying into the lineup. Poulin has had that same sort of opportunity, but has only played 6 NHL games. The 3 he played last season were, um, he was a jag, J-G, not a jag off, but a jag, just another body. That can't happen in training camp and this coming preseason, September, October. He is going to have to assert himself in order to insert himself into the Penguins lineup. So, there you go. There's Sam Poulin at number 11. I will make you read the rest of it. I'm gonna stop right there, and I'm gonna post the link right here. So, at number 15, the more I dug into him, the more I was like, "Oh, I could see actually." Am I online? There we go. It said I was having trouble with my internet connection. Is the sound good? Is the video going all wonky? Drop me a little note here in the comments. I always hate this because I with StreamYard, I can't quite tell where I'm at. I can hear the mixing board, which is usually pretty good, but, um, actually there we go. Testing, 1, 2. That's odd. Let me turn it up a little bit here. There we go. Now I'm added to this. Let me tell you something. I'm a writer, I'm a CEO. Doing these things drive me up a bloody damned wall. It's something it never goes smoothly. I wanna just plug in, hit play, and go, and I probably could do that, if I didn't do 50 other things. Okay, so, I am back. Hopefully, you all didn't leave. Let's get to the questions. Anyway, I was talking about Poulin, the prospects, the Russian kid. The more I dug into I won't tell you his name, I'm gonna make you read. Go click on that link there. Uh, he wears number 99 for his KHL team, playing one of those little off-brand KHL teams, mind you, and they beat Moscow Dynamo. He led his team in playoff assists with 4 in 5 games. So, I was watching a couple highlights that I could find. He went to the net, he's got nice size. This could be interesting. All right, so let me get to the comments here. It drives me insane having to do this stuff. Um, so I've got 2 conflicting reports. Audio is choppy, audio is good. Hopefully, it's good. Hey, Dan, thoughts on the Konechny extension? 8 years times 8.75 that just broke. Actually, I didn't see that. You're giving me news here, BJ. The comparison between Konechny and Gensel, which contract will age better? My gut says the Konechny deal will age better. Gensel, 7 ye Gensel's what, 36? Yeah, or will he turn 37 before the end of the deal? I do not foresee Jake Gensel being half of what he is when he's 35. I just I don't. I think the game he plays combined with his physical limitations already, he can only outsmart everybody for so long, and because he can't outrun, out-hit everybody, he's really gonna have I mean, he's not that much smart he's not like super genius hockey level, right? He's not, Pinky in the Brain out so I think Konechny and I see Konechny getting better at this point in his career. Yeah, Konechny is 27. That makes sense. That's why he's getting better. Yeah, no, I very much like, I like Travis Konechny. I love what the Flyers are doing. Absolutely, you realize the Flyers gave up a playoff spot last year in order in order to get a first round pick for Sean Walker. That was pretty crazy, actually. And the fans went along with it. Here's why. Let me tell you something about the Flyers that they are doing infinitely better than the Penguins. Daniel Briere, I still call him Danny. That's what he was as the player. Danny Briere. And when they wrote that letter to fans saying, hey, rebuild's coming, they admitted it outright. Maybe they don't want to use the rebuild term or what doesn't matter. They were upfront and honest with the fans. Daniel Briere has already done a few interviews one-on-one with my Philadelphia guy, John Bailey. To my knowledge, Philadelphia Hockey Now, Philly Hockey Now, is the only outlet to have interviewed Briere a few times this offseason. But Briere is talking. Briere is talking. And that allows the fans to buy in, to feel like they're a part of the conversation. They're a part of the organization. The Penguins had that for a very long time. I mean, coming out of the 2005-6 lockout with Sidney Crosby and a year later of Evgeny Malkin, but with Marc-Andre Fleury and those that crop of young guys used to hang out at Mario's, the fans grabbed on, not because Sidney Crosby was, going to be one of the best ever, but because they felt like they were a part of things. You went down to Mario's and you partied with the guys. It was old school '70s Steelers kind of stuff, right? The wall the Penguins have built over the last 3, 4 years, Hextall and Dubas both have an iron wall between their regime, their people, and media/fans. Uh, Dubas does not do one-on-one interviews with media. Straight up does not. So, I think that's something they're gonna have to figure out and change, but for now, uh, the Flyers I keep burping because I'm drinking this stuff. Maybe I should stop. But the Flyers have received fan buy-in, and what they're doing, with Mishkov and the young goalies and the young players they're bringing along, some of the young players, they're kicking in the butt and saying, "Let's go." I think it's really exciting to right now be covering the Flyers or be a Flyers fan. BJ also asked, "Is Wes Clark an upgrade over Nick Pryor?" Significantly, yes. And that's not bashing Nick Pryor, that's just Wes Clark is one of those guru guys. If you look at his draft picks and what he's been able to do to influence in Toronto, yeah, he's done pretty well. And if I'm being honest about Pryor, uh, his fingerprints, despite being inner circle for the last several years of the Penguins organization, aren't there. I still don't know if Braden Yeager was the right pick, to be bluntly honest with you. I think he was a safe pick. I don't know if he was the best pick. I love the Tanner Howe pick this year. I don't think Harrison, Brunicky was the right pick. I think it could be 4 years, 5 years before you see Brunicky in a Penguins sweater. Although I was really impressed with him in the development camp, make no mistake, the way he skates in a very effortless way. But a defenseman, when there was some dynamic offensive talent right there, mm, boy, that would have been very difficult to turn down. Okay, I guess the audio is pretty good. Big Joe, I think Poulin's case, he had some untimely injuries. Yes, he did. But that's kind of, the way it goes. Who was it a couple or a few years, ago? Um, it was their time, and then they got injured, and Sullivan's like, "Yeah, that was their window." Trying to think of the player. It wasn't Daniel Sprong. Might have been Alex Nylander? He was before Nylander, kinda one of those guys that everybody was clamoring for, and then as soon as he was ready to be inserted into the lineup, he got hurt, like, 5, 6 games into it. Oh, this is gonna drive me nuts for a little while. Yeah, it is, and hockey doesn't wait for you. That's for darn sure. Okay. Good, good, good. The sound is good. I did go to I screwed up. I went to Guitar Center, and I listened to the clerk. I knew what I really needed to buy. I knew what I should have, and the guy's like, "Well, you can watch some videos." I was like, "I drove to Robinson, dude. How about you just tell me?" Literally, I said I yeah, I'm a jerk sometimes, especially when people kinda, like, fluff me off or, I don't feel like they're doing their job. I can be a, I can be a jerk. So he's like, "No, no, this is what you want." Maybe he was just screwing with me. I told him I had a MacBook. So he sells me a thing that has a USB output. So I couldn't get to Guitar Center to get the proper cables or to take that back this morning. So I'm still using this. I'm having to touch this little square over here that connects the radio studio to the MacBook. So if the audio starts getting choppy or weird, just, let me know. Ryan says, "Trade them all. Dubas has doomed this team." Well, Ryan, you must be fun at parties. Let's see here. Jim, any news about Jesse Puljujärvi? I think he played better at the end of the season. News such as what? Kinda news you looking for, Jim? He exists. He didn't stake his claim to a lineup spot. He makes well less than $1,000,000, so the Penguins can indeed send him to Wilkes-Barre. He's big, he can skate well sometimes. He's got better hands than he shows. He's got more physicality than he wants to use. He lacks consistency. He was maddening to Edmonton. I think that's about all the news I got for you on Puljujärvi. All right, Brendan, thoughts on how much Quinn changes the power play? Is it unreasonable to think power play 2 also gets better with Hayes and Beauvillier? To the latter first, I would say, yeah, probably a bit unreasonable. I don't think you're gonna see Hayes on the power play. I think you're gonna see Hayes on the PK. Um, if if you were asking Anthony Beauvillier to save your power play, my goodness, you were in trouble. At that point, run the white flag up, um, build a coconut radio, and find Gilligan and the skipper because your boat is sunk. Let's go to Gary. Question is, how many of these young players will make the Pens out of camp? Seems to me there aren't many spots up for grabs, so unless one or two of the younger players plays lights out camp preseason, most of them will be back in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, or juniors. How many spots do you think will be open for young players to take? Gary, great point, great question. Here is what Dubas said last year, which I think is more true this year. He said he doesn't mind putting players on waivers. If they get claimed, great. Wish you well. Enjoy your new city. We didn't need you. Bye. He was pretty cold about that when he said it too. It was kind of I I was a little taken aback by it. So how many spots are realistically open for young players? I think there's 1 guaranteed spot. I think there's as many as 3 that if a young guy is like, "Hey, me," he would get it. Now, Braden Yeager is gonna be a unique case, the 2023 first round pick, because I think they would love him to make the team. I haven't seen enough from him to warrant 100%, guaranteed inclusion. Let's just say, the things I didn't like about his game in the Memorial Cup and even some of the things I saw, he brought a similar game to development camp. Let's just say, he watches the film and goes, "Oh, geez, I was doing that? Ah, we're gonna fix that right away." Comes to camp and probably should be in the lineup. You're gonna see that. No ifs, ands, or buts. He doesn't have to outright knock out the person in front of him to win a job. Everybody else, the young players anyway, kind of has to knock out the veteran to get the job. The only player I see who is probably going to make it is, Vasily Ponomarev. The guy, played a couple of games for Carolina last year, had a goal and an assist, came in the Jake Gensel trade. Problem there is he has or had he badly sprained his ankle a handful of games into his Wilkes-Barre tenure. I guess it was a pretty severe high ankle sprain. So much so that, the people I was talking to at development camp wondered if he would be ready in October. It's that significant. So, uh, I'm gonna assume Ponomarev makes the roster. The second guy, keep your eyes on. I don't think enough of you, are paying attention or have paid attention. I've tried to drag your horse to water on Tristan Brose. Scored a sick goal in the beauty league last week. I mean, just put it between his legs and went top shelf with him. Like, holy crap, kid. His skating is markedly improved. It's NHL level now. His forecheck is fearless. Combine that with some hands, he really could make the roster, but he would have to beat Anthony Beauvillier or Noel Acciari, which isn't gonna happen. So, it does become a little bit of a cluster. Maybe somebody knocks out, Valtteri Puustinen, who can be soft and invisible at times. So, um, yeah, it'll be a dogfight. Braden Yeager's the only guy that doesn't have to win by knockout, I think. Braden Yeager and the veterans. Everybody else has to really earn their way in. Alright, so yep, Gary also concludes hiring Briere and Keith Jones was an excellent move by Philly. As much as, I know you all dislike Philly, Gary included here. They're on the right track. Let's see here. Steven, I suspect Dubas signed some low-cost fill-ins in order to see who rises to the top for Wilkes-Barre for a call-up, not unlike 2016. Yes and no. Yeah, 2016 had the young players. Dubas likes to overstock with veterans and let them all figure it out. I don't like the crop of players that Dubas signed on July 1. I thought last year he had a good bit of NHL talent that he got to come to Pittsburgh. This year, I think they got wise. This year, I don't see those same quality players taking a chance on the Penguins. I saw some guys in desperate need of an opportunity coming to the Penguins. Um, Mac Holloway, prime example. Some NHL experience-ish, but I he's not anything close to an NHL player, sure thing kinda guy that they could absolutely plug in. It was kind of more like a, yeah, it was a flyer on him, not a Philly flyer. Back in 2016, obviously, you had Brian Russ, a third-round pick, Connor Sherry, who really kicked the door in as an undrafted free agent. There was no way Sherry wasn't getting an NHL sweater by midseason. He was just tearing up, the AHL, but he was still a rookie at 22 years old, and Tom Kuhnhackl and Scott Wilson, those guys have put in their time and we're ready. Am I talking about Derek Pouliot? What y'all gotta I have no idea. See, don't forget, I see your stuff 90 seconds later at best. Gary also asks, I see a bunch of questions, I'm getting to them. I guess there's no rush to get Sid's signature on that contract extension. Folks, I tried to tell you a month ago, well, actually 3 weeks ago, 17 days to be exact. Tried to tell you that it was not an urgent matter. Also, I tried to warn you that a lot of you were leaping to conclusions that it was a done deal. As of when I spoke to sources July 9th, July 8th, it was not a done deal, and that's as much as I can say on the matter. I think you all assume that it's all a done deal, it's signed in a contract drawer. I was gonna have a big parade and a big announcement on August 7th because that's Sidney Crosby's birthday, and yay, it's gonna be so much fun, and listen, that might happen. I'm not discounting the possibility. I'm also saying don't bank on it because really what it's kind of an odd I mean, think about this. Let's just say Sidney Crosby signs his contract and they would make an August 7th announcement. There's no fans. They're not gonna fill PMC Lemieux Complex or PPG Paints Arena for a contract ceremony. They're At least I don't think they would. That would be pretty cool. If they did that, $10 a head, it all goes to the Lemieux Foundation. Y'all can come in and watch Sidney Crosby sign a contract. Maybe he and Kyle Dubas say a few words. Y'all get to watch us do a live press conference. That actually might be kind of funny, kind of fun, but I don't think that is in the cards. So, what benefit does everybody have to wait until August 7th? And I don't mean to pop bubbles here. I'm just bringing you the reality as we know it. Mm, I don't know. I it I know that, over the last couple of weeks that, Sid and his agent were gonna sit down and discuss. It certainly wasn't imminent. Um, if the Penguins don't have a contract extension with Sidney Crosby's name on it by August 7th, slam the panic button. How's that? I mean, I've written probably more on the contract than anybody else, and I haven't breathlessly sources say because I don't wanna be out on that limb because this is gonna be a very unique situation, and I do not want 'cause no matter what I reported, it would get twisted and 'cause it's a very nuanced situation that I don't think I can properly, accurately convey to you without breaking confidences. So, just it very well could happen for the next couple of weeks. If it doesn't, it's yeah. My gut feeling on the matter truly is that Sidney Crosby wants to stick around but Sidney Crosby doesn't want to stick around for generation next. He wants real prospects, or he wants a team around, and, I don't believe that either is in place right now. Just that's my opinion on it. Um, would Braz be a middle, bottom 6 player? Is he a top 6 type? He's to be determined. Really, I mean, really to be determined. You're never quite sure how a guy's scoring touch is going to transfer. Don't forget he started last year at University of Denver in the 4th line. He was a grinder and a kind of a forgotten man until injuries gave him an opportunity in January, and the kid seized it with both hands. I liked what I saw in Wilkes-Barre. I liked what I saw in development camp. I liked the toolbox. He he really could be a third line center with some offensive pop. He could be a defensive fourth line winger. There's a lot of, gray area with Bros, or a lot of potential to go different ways. JR, let's see here. If Bunting, Malkin, and Rakell stay healthy all year, do you see all 3 reaching 25 plus goals each? I don't know. I just had it's a great question. Let me put you back up there, JR. It's a great question because I don't know how much gas is in Malkin's tank, and so much of that line would depend on Evgeny Malkin. If his decline continues, I could see that becoming a real problem for the line. If it stabilizes, right? If he lost a step last year and that's where he stays for the next year and a half, 2 years, I very well could see those guys, really chipping in some good offensive numbers. So, I hate to hedge my bet on that. My unknown is Malkin on the deal. Christopher, Sid not re-upping yet, meaning he's having fun with Dubas? I think so. Not happy with direction is my point. I think that is possible. Listen, Sid's a human being. You know, I don't get the ride or die with one organization outlook. Life changes. Lord knows. I mean, most of us have been through some cataclysmic changes in our life, and the funny thing, you live, you survive, you keep going, and Stamkos and Marchessault and even Riley Smith leaving Vegas broke his heart. What do you want? If it's what's best for you, you have to decide how important you are in the situation. Again, I'm not reporting that. I'm with you, Christopher. I'm speculating as well. Thomas, so I hear how much cap space Pens have left over. You. Is that AI? What? Yeah, Penguins have about 3.5 million. Where does that money come from? Uh, Money, revenues, league, owners, players split the revenues 50/50. Hockey revenues. So, let's see here. I feel like Google is your better answer for that, Thomas. If you really wanna know, you can look into it and really read some in-depth. Best answer, yeah, 50/50 owners, players split. Best July 1 signing is Blake Lizotte. He'll get plenty of ice time with the Pens. I gloss over, I forgot him. I was trying to think of, like, who I was forgetting. He'll get more ice time than he got with the Kings. Actually, I don't know that. I think he's a fourth liner. And I don't know how much skill he has. His offensive totals have never, really shown. He's a fast, tenacious guy. I think a great danger is assuming players will be more when they come to the Penguins. That might have been true 10 years ago. You get around Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, and all of a sudden Blake Como was, an all-star sniper, but that's not the case anymore. I think I'm kind of done talking about Sid. If I said any more, I might get in trouble, or if I said any more, I think some of you might get the impression that I'm reporting rather than I'm kind of opining, discussing with you as I see it. Let's see here. Brendan, do I see the 3rd pairing of Grzelcyk and St. Ivany being a solid pairing? I think that would be a very solid pairing. I also don't think that Grzelcyk will be a 3rd pairing guy. I have my doubts that Ryan Graves will have the rebound that, Kyle Dubas seems to think he'll have. Should the Pens have made a play to get Chychrun based on what Washington paid for him? Yes. Yeah. A 3rd round pick and Nick Jensen. The equivalent of that would have been a 3rd round pick and Marcus Pettersson. Yes, no question. Brian, Grizz with Letang and Graves with the Saint. I guess you mean Saint Ivany. Um, yeah, that's kind of how I foresee it, breaking down. Although, look, Sebastian Aho is waiting in the wings. Aho, St. Ivany, if Graves doesn't take a step forward and play a little more confident hockey, very possible. Sebastian Aho from Islanders, not Sebastian Aho from Carolina. Any word on who Dubas is trying to deal before the start of the year? I love when y'all ask me these questions. JR, if I could report that, don't you think I would? Breathlessly. I would be all over Twitter and the website saying Dubas is trying to trade. I think by and large, teams have hunkered down. The only shoe really left to drop, 2 shoes rather. Tyler Johnson on the free agent market. I still think he would fit very well with the Penguins and allow the Penguins to move Drew O'Connor to the 3rd line, or Johnson would provide some 3rd line scoring punch. The other shoe, of course, is Patrick Laine, and that is in a holding pattern until he clears the NHL, NHLPA Players Assistance Program. I suppose in theory, just being in the program in itself is not a barrier to trading him, but teams wanna talk to him first. They wanna make sure he's in a good spot. They wanna make sure he's ready to play hockey. They don't wanna take on an $8.7 million contract for a guy who's questioning if he wants to continue playing, right? You don't know where a guy is going to be coming out of the program. So they all wanna talk to him first, which makes, complete sense. All right, so, get your questions flying in. What have I done? 38 minutes here on the season finale of Penguins Live ch feel like what's the Hell's Kitchen voiceover? On the season finale of Penguins Live Chat, does Dan chug the fizzy water? Will he drink the coffee instead? Find out next on an explosive Penguins Live Chat. This is, it's not actually to me, has been a boring summer. I I see what Dubas is doing in terms of the direction of the rebuild. I think it's maybe important to really understand what he's done versus what he could have done. Because, I mean, that's not just because that's what we do as the media, but that's because, I think it's important to compare, contrast the 2 paths. Choose the path through the forest less traveled. And I think Dubas is doing something unique. I do not recall Detroit doing it this way. Certainly, Chicago did not do it this way. wherein they kept the veterans, the core, and tried to trade everybody around the core for draft picks. It's interesting. I maintain that uh, a an equally valid path, if not my preferred path, would have been to free up money, say Riley Smith, uh, sign a free agent center, one of the top ones on the market. You know, Chandler Stevenson actually got paid way too much by Seattle. So that probably I could not see the Penguins paying Stevenson like 30 million bucks, more than 30 million that he got in Seattle. Couldn't that would have been a no thanks, sorry. Wrong number. Elias is Lindholm. You know, there were other centers on the market who could have come in and eased the transition, made the Penguins more competitive immediately. They chose not to go that route. Here's the thing with Dubas's strategy. Let's say Owen Pickering doesn't pan out or is a marginal NHL guy. Let's say that Blomqvist is a meat and potatoes goalie, a 905 save percentage guy. Um, you know, he can play, but he's not a bona fide number one starter. Let's say that Valtteri Puustinen and Jack St. Ivany are what they are, bottom six, bottom pairing, kind of just a guys. Let's let's say Braden Yeager finds his ceiling as a third line center. Very possible, by the way. And maybe Tanner Howe is kind of a middle six, a softer, maybe more third line guy. Very possible. And Brunicky doesn't get to the NHL for 4 or 5 years. Very possible. All of those, in a vacuum, are very possible, if not more likely than them breaking out to be top 4, top 6 impact players. So what happens then in 3 years, 2 years? What happens to the Penguins lineup? If what I said is more true than false, the Penguins are in deep trouble. I mean, and they're gonna regret passing up on free agents now that would have been there in 2 or 3 years, providing some competitive backbone while they continue to add prospects and players. My 2 cents. I'm not saying Dubas is wrong to do it the way he's doing it. I'm saying he's putting a lot of eggs in one basket, and that basket is notoriously finicky, difficult to carry. It fails more often than it succeeds. All right, Brendan, I have looked ahead to the 2025 draft class. Seems like next year will be largely important based on the current picks and the picks that Penguins get at the deadline. Yes, I have looked ahead, and uh, mm, it's talented, deep, but the high end talent pales in comparison to the 2024 class. I don't. There's not a consensus number one pick yet, and there's like a lot of guys who were like a fifth overall pick. Well, that's not bad, right? Not bad. But if you have a top 10 pick, this would have been the year, not next year. Mark Madden. I like Madden. Madden and I have become cordial, and we can talk some hockey. And yeah, no, I like Mark. I'm not saying I don't like the other guy. I'm just saying you would be surprised. Who asked that question? JR. You'd be surprised how much over the last year some old wounds have healed, divisions that, like, we don't care anymore. We all had our war 5 years ago. People took sides, people in the Penguins organization took sides, and it was all just a giant mess. You'd be surprised to know who I've had beers with on the road. You'd be surprised to know who I've sat with at some games talking for an hour. I'm not gonna besmirch them by ratting them out, but you'd be surprised, and, they can think whatever they want of me, and I can think whatever I want of them, but at the end of the day, things have reached a pretty cordial level amongst all of us. I mean, that could change as Google continues to tighten the screws on independent publishers and resources get more scarce. We might go to war again. I don't know what comes next in this world. Okay, here it is your final call for questions as I'm getting bombarded with political texts. I won't tell you who I donated money to back in like February, March. There was actually a candidate that I liked. I'm not going to tell you. Um, that was a huge mistake. I should have bought a burner phone to make the donation because I just get text all day long from one side of the political spectrum, and it's just the most partisan nonsense. This side is terrible. This side's gonna do this to you. Make a donation now. Please help me, friends. And leave me alone. Jump off a building. Yes, I've replied that. I know I can't see it. It's yeah. I think I'd rather have my $50 back at this point. Again, not telling you who. You think you know. You don't know. You don't know. You think you know. You don't know. Okay, so, where was I with some of the, season finale cliffhanger, stuff? So, I think a couple days ago on, Pittsburgh Hockey Now, I spent several days laying out the Metro division for you, and this is one of those things where well, I put a lot of work into something, and only a few of you read it, and then everyone asks me the questions I've already answered in the story. And here it is. Where is it? 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 There it is. Share screen. Way too early predictions on the Metro division. Obviously, the Rangers haven't done a whole lot this offseason, but they're still really good. The team that made the big jump. Let me see if I can page down here to show you part of my predictions. I'll show you the first 2 or 3 teams because I think Carolina got just beat up. Oop, do I show you team number 3? Do I show you? I think the Rangers at 106, the Devil I see a typo, damn it. I should have put a space here. Devils about 100 points, 101. I mean, I'm really just guessing at the points in reality. I felt like I had to put it there to put the answer into context. Number 3, is it the Penguins? Is it the Capitals, Carolina, Flyers? Who's number 3? Survey says Carolina, but barely. You're gonna have to click on it. I want the clicks, people. I want the clicks. So I'm gonna put this here, so you can click on that and, get it. Brian, let me stop sharing here. Here's a great question. Do I think the next superstar of the Penguins is Murashaw? Well, Brian, I did write quite a bit about him. I'm gonna break your stones just a little bit because I have actually written what I think Murashaw is ceiling. And yes, I don't know if superstar is the right word. I know that he's got some of that superstar energy about him. take it for what you will. I mean, goaltending can be such an inexact thing. Matt Murray, you all were on that bandwagon. You were piling on the friends and family plan. You were on that bandwagon, and you were all just like, Fleury's gotta go." Murray kinda crashes a year later, and everybody on that bandwagon was like, "I said they should have kept Fleury." Like, shut up. You were all on the Matt Murray bandwagon. There were 2 of us that I can think of that kind of held out to the very end. One now does political talk, last name Staggerwald. The other was me. And you all just teed off on us for a good year, year and a half. "Ah, see, so, point is, goaltending is quite a difficult position to project. A guy can have that, superstar energy, but flaw in his game. One flaw can undo everything. So we'll see. I would like to see Murashov come to the Penguins organization this summer. I would like to see him and Blomqvist, trade the net in Wilkes-Barre. Um, I don't know if that's best for Blomqvist, though. That's kind of the problem I think the Penguins have found themselves in. They signed the, Swedish goalie, and forgive me, I forget his name. He was an NHL prospect for a minute, didn't pan out. Now he's a little older, but he had a pretty good year over, in the elite league, and they're bringing him back for another bite at the apple. Obviously, he wasn't going to sign if he was number 5 on the depth chart and gonna play in Wheeling, and I don't think Murashov would come over if he's gonna be number 5 on the depth chart. So and no, they're not gonna trade Tristan Jarry just to make room for a number 5 on the depth chart. Pump your brakes. I know where your minds were going. So, we'll see. Larson, thank you, Brian. Yeah, Philip Larson. I don't know. It's interesting to me. I don't know that it's worth a lot of ink or breath, but it's certainly an interesting situation. If Dubas got a good offer for Tristan Jarry, perhaps, but I'm just telling you. Listen, nobody else made the drive to Wilkes-Barre and stayed at the, Motel 6 for a week to see the playoffs with this guy. So, when I say he flubbed his final exam, believe me when I tell you that, he wasn't the guy that Kyle Dubas wanted to see. His yeah, he had a good season, but when the bright lights, center stage, "Here you go, kid, seize the day," he was kind of a trampoline back there. So that is why they signed Nedeljkovic in mid-June. Otherwise, if they didn't think, um, Blomqvist was ready, they would have signed Nedeljkovic last season, but they had to go through that process. It probably cost them a few $100,000, but, you know, uh, I think all's well that ends well. Question is, who, what, where, when ends up in Wheeling. Don't forget, Taylor Gauthier, who was a Team Canada kid, is there too. So the Penguins, if Murashov signs, would have 6 guys fighting for 3 nets. That's a lot of goalies. Like, at that point, I probably would expect to see a trade, if not a minor league trade, kind of with a player's best interest at heart. At that point, I could see Jason Spezza, who GMs, Wilkes-Barre. I could see Spezza, just trading one of those guys to a team that really needs a goalie and saying, "Go get him, kid." With maybe Gauthier or Larson's best interest at heart. All right, so, that was the final call. Da, da, da. Let's see here. Oh, okay, here, I'll do one more. This is the last one. What are my thoughts on Dubas's plan to get Pens back to contention before Sid retires? I'm not sure I think it's possible. Drafting between 14 to 20 every season won't necessarily help the Pens get any elite talent. That is correct. That is why I would have dabbled in the free agent market rather than acquiring Kevin Hayes for a second round or with a second round pick. That is why I would have dabbled on the free agent market because, okay, let's just say they get Jaeger and Bros or Jaeger and Ponomarev or, a couple of the guys. The guys they have in the pipeline, the only one who has a chance to be a standard bearer is Jaeger. Jaeger might take another full step forward and become a real top 6 center. The scouts seem to think he has that potential. Of course, a lot of guys have had that potential and, you know, and no, they don't get there. I think of here's a prime example. Ryan Poehling was thought to have that sort of potential. Heck, Rem Pitlick, Daniel Sprong, who's now in what, his 15 in 4 years or 4th team in 5 years? 5 and 5? Something like that. Lots of guys have potential, but it's a whole 'nother thing to put the rubber to the road. It's a whole 'nother world to do everything you can do, and Phil Bork told me this a couple of years ago, and I kinda wrapped my arms around the insight. Not Bork, the insight. He's like, I tell my son, "Lots of guys have talent, but can you do it at full speed?" And just wow, what what insight, because that is so true. I mean, how many guys can do great, shootout moves or, they can peek around the defense, they can do this or that, but when you put them in a game environment at full speed, 5 on 5, and all the chaos is breaking loose and they get invisible, or they're making terrible mistakes, or they just never quite figure out the organized chaos of 5 on 5 hockey on a North American-sized rink. It's a lot to figure out. I mean, there's a reason that, uh, Russia essentially tried to make it a five-man ballet, and they did with very specific and coordinated patterns of movement, positions, trading, what the '70s Soviets did with hockey was extraordinary. And I think we've probably broken down a lot of that because the game is just so fast and the physicality of the Western world playing hockey doesn't necessarily lend itself to that ballet. Sure, you can try. It lasts about as long as the second hit, and then there's a loose puck and all hell breaks loose. So, um, yeah, I think you can find some real talent 14 to 20, though. You can build a team. I mean, think about this. You can, in fact, build a competitive team without a true number 1 center. Nashville has done it. Nashville did how many years in a row did they make the playoffs with Barry Trotz as the head coach? What, 12 years in a row? And they never had top-end talent. Um, New Jersey, forever and a day, didn't have top-end offensive talent. They built from the back out. Let me think about it here. I would say Montreal's playoff run a few years ago when they actually, when Shea Weber was able to skate and Carey Price was gobbling up everything. Mm, at the time, they didn't have a great top 6. They had enough they found offense through depth. Uh, so I think it's quite possible. Florida and Edmonton, I would say, have top end talent. Colorado certainly has top end talent, don't they? Did Vegas in 2023, did Vegas really have top end offensive talent? William Karlsson and Jonathan Marchessault. What did Marchessault shoot in the playoffs? Well, his shooting percentage was like 30%. But do you really call William Karlsson a bona fide true number 1 center and Johnny Marchessault, a legitimate top line winger? Maybe poor man's top line, great second liners, but are they really first liners? So, uh, it can be done, Gary. It's difficult. You have to hit on some draft picks, and you have to hit on some free agents, and you have to really build out your depth. That is 1 hour, kids. I'm done for the summer. School's out for summer. School's out forever. All right, thanks for the Alice Cooper reference. I will have some videos and, of course, Pittsburgh Hockey Now, daily content. It's been my blast. Hey, we relaunched Washington Hockey Now. Really excited to have Nathan Moser on board, and there's another West Coast city coming. All right, that's it for me. Have fun.